Hello, friends. Welcome to Response Agility. And today I have a special guest, Ofelia. She is a founder and of a beauty bar, and she will explain to you how it's new. But this is a place where women can go and get multiple services done at the same time and leave feeling happy, healthy, and more connected to other women. And as this podcast is for people committed to living a life they love and loving the life they live, she will share how to do that from a beauty standpoint. Welcome, Ofelia. Tell us a little bit about your business and where you're located and why you do what you do, and then we'll get into it.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, I came back into business after COVID. I lost everything, came back. I mean, I'm giving you a really short version, but what I've created and I'm launching is a new lifestyle, which is a place where one can have it all, where beauty meets wellness and you can have it all. And what I mean by that is I have created Beauté Bar, which is a aesthetic service. We do a lot of aesthetics in here, like, multiple services from hydrofacials to lymphatic drainage, nails. And then I am the founder of the med spa, because what I found is, we're in the Silicon Valley. So we got to go. Our time is limited. I lived in France. So I brought this boutique destination spa feeling to you that has a very French pop in the heart of downtown Los Gatos, and a place where you can have it all at the same time.
Awesome. So you were saying earlier, I get my nails done. I exercise a lot. I train for different events, and I don't have a lot of time to, go get a facial, although I make that a priority, and get my nails done. And how amazing to be able to have your nails done and get an IV of what would they get the IV of?
Right. So yeah, it's the place where you can have it all. And that's exactly what I wanted to do, is make it and normalize the feeling of, I don't need to go to a doctor appointment and sit there, and then I got to go here. And so I've created and have brought in the best of the best so that you can get your nails done. And while you're sitting at my nail bar, you can have an IV at the same time. Like, how cool is that?
What's in the IV though?
So IVs have everything. I mean, we're talking about like a Myers hydrating cocktail for energy boost. Maybe you want your beauty boost. And so, of course, there's a lot of different things that are in there, right? B12, zinc, magnesium, there's all kinds of stuff. So it depends on the cocktail that you choose at Beauté Bar. And then you can have a B12 shot. The most popular service right now is the NAD plus, which is regenerating all of the cells in your own body and giving you boosts so you can sleep better, think clearer. And it's a beauty cocktail. I mean, it's amazing.
So we have a mutual friend, Marion. Mary and I were doing the ride around Lake Tahoe, 72 miles, and it was hot and it was hard, and we finished early. I'm very, very happy we finished like just at about 12:30. But there was this tent, and this woman was giving injections, and we're both like, what is she doing? And they were like vitamin boosts. And we both took one. And after a 72-mile bike ride, both of us within an hour felt like we never did the bike ride. And so there's some magic about these IV potions of vitamins. And when did this start being a thing?
Back in the day, I mean, this has been around for a very, very long time. I'm second generation beauty and wellness. My mother was a nurse. She, would smuggle them across the border from Mexico. She's Mexican. And, she would be giving my dad the B12 shots. So it was always a part of my life.
Wow.
And then when I go to Mexico and have these wild girl weekends and, you drink a lot, and then it's like, oh, well, we feel like crap, but we still got 3 more days of Cabo to go. And you go get an IV hydration. And then you feel like, let's go again.
Let's go drink.
Exactly. And that's essentially what it does, is it kicks your system back into it. The IV is the quickest way to get delivered into the body. So rather than taking a pill of B12, let's just say, which takes a certain amount of time, You put it right into your bloodstream, and that's exactly it. And very smart for this service to be offered at a place like that where you got it, because that's essentially what we're trying to do. Is you realize how quickly you can recover when you're doing these amazing things for yourself. And so that's what it is we are implementing this service so that we can function at our best level without having to go through extreme measures, perhaps, but just simple biohacking results that we can implement into our life.
I love that idea of biohacking, because time is the only thing you can never get back. And people are looking for ways. Okay, so if I'm going to work out and I'm going to meditate and I'm going to go get my nails done and I'm going to get a facial and I'm going to get my hair done, and my whole Saturday is packed. What can I do at the same time?
Yeah, and clearly that's essentially what I'm doing. I've heard this multiple times. And of course, being in the corporate wellness world, in the heart of Silicon Valley, it's that. And I'm born and raised here, so I've seen all of this change. I've seen it go from cows to what it is now, and I'm not a fan of this fast-paced world that we live in, but we're not going to get away from it. Right. So how can I help? Right. What service can I provide where I can tell women, this is where beauty meets wellness. Let me help you out. And I believe my concept is unique. It's fun. I want you to be able to come and sit at a mocktail little lounge where you can have a girl power hour with your bestie, Mary, or you come and you're trying to get a few things done because you got a presentation on Monday and you need to look good, feel good, fix that cracked nail, all of it.
All right. So now tell us a little bit about what happened during COVID. I mean, mostly like you had a business, you lost everything and you rebuilt. And that's what people are interested in, because let's face it, we are living in some of the most volatile, uncertain, chaotic, complex, and confusing and ambiguous times in history. And people could argue and say we've always lived in those times, but we haven't lived in those times with the internet, with social media, with AI, with a political scene that has completely divided everyone. We haven't had the confluence of all these things at one time. So what happened during COVID? Yeah. And how did you deal with yourself? And how did you get back on track?
Oh, that's the journey, right? That's the story. And that's the story that I believe why people came back to me or to the business and the idea, the supporters, all of the people that are just my cheerleaders. I mean, whatever we want to call them. Thank God I did leave the industry with a good name attached to it. So I owned another business, successful. I was at the top of my game. I mean, I felt like, yeah, this is it, like I got a great, brick and mortar, but life happened. So COVID happened, the beauty industry tanked big time. And unlike a lot of businesses, people say, well, you did fine. You got the PPL loan, right? I mean, and no, I was one of the 2,000 businesses that did not get the PPL loan. Why? I don't know. That's just something that is a mystery. There's 2,000 of us in the state of California, and I had to close the doors. So after paying back everybody, doing all the things that you suffer, financial, huge loss, I lost it all, basically. I mean, I had to close the doors, and I, at that moment, hit what I feel is my rock bottom. You grieve. It's the perfect storm. My father dies. I had to put my 2 dogs down. I'm taking care of my mother who has dementia, and the world just came crashing down. That led into a spiral of, to be transparent, just drinking. It was my outlet. I started to drink a lot, just like a lot of people during COVID. There was nothing else to do. It was. Yeah,
thank you for being honest about that. I was just in a former podcast. I was talking to a guy who coaches athletes and CEOs, and he said it is so common to go to some kind of addiction when we are in the swirl of upset, sadness. What do I do? So, Ofelia, how did you catch yourself? How did you say, I am drinking too much.
One day leads into another, into another, into another. And then before you know it, you're like, 2 years have gone by. I mean, it was really, it feels like we were in a time warp, crazy zone. And so and even though I know how to meditate, I know how to go to a higher power. I have great friends. I have a wonderful husband, beautiful, supportive kids, and you have everything to live for, but you're in this rut. And I didn't have a business, and I was trying to juggle and figure things out. And I think one day it just comes to that point where you're done. You're like, I'm either going to choose this life or I'm going to figure it out. So I decided to figure it out.
Do you remember the moment when you either looked in the mirror or woke up and said, this is my choice point right now? If you don't, you don't. But if you do, it would help our viewers, because I think a lot of people have hit bottom or are hitting bottom. They're nervous about politics. They're nervous about the environment. Their kids are completely disconnected, and people are struggling right now.
Yeah. I wish I could say that there was this moment. I mean, there was certainly these moments of looking in the mirror, right? And you're like, but I don't really recognize this sad person looking back at me. And then it turned into my kids, saying, and it was really when my daughter just knows me as this powerhouse. She's always worked for me. She's my COO of the business. And, it was like, Mom, like, you need help. And to hear that from a loved one is humbling, especially when it's your kid, right? Someone younger than you. So when you're like, I'm supposed to be the role model. I'm supposed to take care of everybody. That's I'm the one creating jobs. And you have this pressure. And now someone's telling me that I need help. So I was like,
so good. That's
not a good moment. It's humbling. It's humbling.
Ofelia, one of my biggest insights in my whole life is when I had the software company also in Silicon Valley, and I was putting everything. I mean, I think I sunk $1 million of money and time, and I brought my son into the business, and an ex-partner I brought into the business, and all these other people. People were joining me because they wanted to fulfill the intention of this software company. And when it all came crashing down, I remember I couldn't even open the door of the office. My hand was shaking. I probably told you that story. And I went home. I couldn't go into the office. I went home. I crawled into bed. It's like 11:30, and my son walked in and said, "What are you doing? Sleeping in the middle of the day?" And I said, and I started whining about all my mistakes. And he goes, "The woman who raised me would never lay down and take this as a victim. Get up and do something about it." And I felt the same way that you just said. Like, it was my child who was becoming a man and stood for me.
You gave me goosebumps. You gave me goosebumps, Maggie. You did. I mean, it's humbling. It's a shock. And that was, honestly, that was the moment. I think it was like looking into her eyes, seeing the sadness, seeing the desperation. And your kids are, in my opinion, right? I feel I always got to depend on my father for moral support, and to see that I was leaving my children in this state of, where's our mom? Where's the mom that raised me? This strong woman who, and we have a whole other story, leaving an abusive relationship. The father of my children is 23-year marriage it took, and I finally left an abusive relationship. And that's a whole other chapter, but,
let's actually talk about that, because my target audience in margaretgraziano.com, and the reason we created Response Agility, is for women who are empowered, who maybe have lost their way, who got stuck and want to be unstuck, for women who have a growth mindset. So, and my mom was I don't want to say a victim, but she was married to a domestic abuser. So tell us a little bit about that. What happened, and let's peel back the onion even more.
I know, right? I know. I feel like the chapters of my life have gotten, to that point where it's like, oh, there's another layer. Yes, there is. And I got married really young. I was 17 years old. The first time he hit me, I was holding my 8-month-old daughter, who is now 30. And this cycle continued. I was young, and it was a high school sweetheart, and got pregnant. And the right thing to do was to get married, because that was what our parents wanted. And, one day after another, before you know it, you're married and you have 3 kids and you're trying to figure it out. What got me motivated was the constant narcissistic lies, the gaslighting. I have more money than you. You're never going to be able to have your children. And my kids were everything to me. I was a wonderful mom, Emma, a wonderful mom. And I believed him, right? I didn't have a very strong woman role model. My mother was diagnosed very early with dementia. And so I didn't have a moral woman support system. So I started to get therapy, but backtracking, I was married and in this cycle of working. And when I decided to open my business, guess what? It was because I needed to prove to myself and have the means financially to know that I could leave him and be okay, because I had 3 kids. Work became my addiction, my outlet, and I did really well. And even after I did really well in work, the interesting part was that the cycle continues. Day after day, lie after lie, mental abuse, it just can go on and on and on. So I started seeking marriage counseling, thinking I needed marriage counseling, that was going to fix my marriage, even though in the moment, I didn't realize I was in a really bad relationship. And through that, I had a wonderful therapist who said to me, I don't want to be your marriage counselor anymore. He doesn't come to the appointments, Ofelia. She knew what she was doing. And she said, but I'll be your therapist. And 2 years later, I asked for a divorce. So it took a village, it took a village. And my suggestion to any women who are suffering from domestic abuse, and whether it's mental, physical, any of it, gaslighting, when you just know that you're walking on eggshells in your relationship and that's not normal, your kids don't like him. I mean, whatever the scenario is, there's all kinds of levels, is to start creating your village. Because when you're in that rut and when you're in that cycle of that kind of relationship, to do it alone is very difficult. And I've met women all over the place that it's the same thing. How? And I would say you start to develop your networks, whether it's a pastor, a woman that you can trust, maybe it's friends. Sometimes friends don't give the best advice either, so it takes wise counsel. And wise counsel to me means definitely a therapist, maybe going to Al-Anon, or, places where you can seek help if you don't have the funds, but start creating a community. And you might not get the results right away, but you will develop the self-esteem and the power to be able to say enough is enough.
When you decided you were going to go get therapy for the marriage, and you opened your business, there must have been some intention or possibility, something stirring in you that wanted that autonomy and that agency for your life. Do you remember? And I keep asking about these moments because I think we all have moments, and sometimes we don't recognize that we're having a moment, or that we have an insight, or that our intuition is talking to us. What was it that had you say, I'm going to start the first business. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to give myself some authority over my life?
When I was, you're asking some amazing questions. Thank you. It makes my brain really start to really get fine tune what that was. When I was a little girl, my mother was a dreamer, and she implemented the visualization and the dreaming aspect of manifestation, if you will, to be what it is today. And I didn't know at the time what that was, but she would say little things like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be a doctor or do you want to be a beautician? That's what it was back then, because people will always get sick and women will do anything to stay beautiful. I mean, she was like the cutest thing. So she had me dream. And I didn't know what that looked like, back then. My father was a Stanford graduate, so I always had a lot of education naturally in my family. And then, of course, I dropped the mic when I said I'm going to beauty school. He was like, oh, God, that wasn't ideal for him. The drive was I was working for someone who was also a brick and mortar small businesswoman. And I kicked it butt at what I did. I was growing my little aesthetic, business in her brick and mortar. And I started to ask for a raise. And I was like, I'm making you like $1,000 a week. And then it kicked up into 2,000. And she was like, you're doing great, Ofelia, another year of this. And I was like, okay. The next year, right? Now I'm making you $2,000 a week. And she's like, and I'm like, I think I can get a raise, like it shouldn't be this kind of commission split anymore. In my gut, I knew that I deserved more, I guess is a good way to put it. I knew that I was valued at more. Somehow I was yearning to keep more of that money, right? I'm making this person all this money. And I know that I'm the one putting in the hard work for it.
Yeah.
She wasn't doing much, and not to say, because I get it. Developing a brick and mortar deserves a lot on her return on investment. But when you have a key diamond worker, you have to, I believe, pay it back to them and to keep them incentivized, valued. So I started to feel like I wasn't as valued. And when that happened, I was like, I asked her 3 times. And someone very wise who owns multiple businesses in Los Gatos said to me, you've asked her 3 times, Ofelia. If the answer is no, she's got to know she might be willing to risk you and lose you. And I thought that was very valuable because it gave me the authority or the okay to say, she might lose me. So that gave me the entertaining idea of having to do it all on my own. Now, of course, it's not easy to create your own brick and mortar, but I did it and I was really good at it.
Yeah, that's great. That's so great. I mean, there's so much that you're saying, like ask 3 times. And at the 3rd time, if they're not going to give you, and I think that's a good rule in any relationship, like, hey, this is what I need and this is what I want. And if they don't want to give it to you or they can't give it to you, they probably never will. So great on that person for giving you that advice. And I love what you said is the girlfriends might not always be, or the friend zone might not always be the best advice. So build your community. And you didn't say this, but believe in yourself in that way. But you are talking about believing in yourself. And then don't take any shit. I mean, that's you got to a point where you had the courage and the power to leave that first husband. And, do you want to say anything about that?
Love yourself better is actually my first slogan when I first started my business 2 years ago, Beauté Bar, because you have to love yourself so much that you can't do it for anyone else, not even your kids. Because yes, there are many reasons we live and many reasons we do things, have goals, and, we might work a little harder to provide more for our children. I mean, whatever that why is, but at the end of the day, we have to love ourselves so much that it's because we want to save ourselves. And for me, it was that rock bottom and knowing that I had to love myself so much that I didn't want to die, right? I didn't want to be this person that had no goals or just, truly, I'm going to be transparent, die. I feel like I was on a road to destruction. And then you love yourself so much because when you put your life mask on first, right? We're taught that. You put your life mask on first so you can help everyone around you.
Yeah.
So if you keep giving and giving and giving, give to your husband, make sure he's happy, give to your children, so that they're not pissed off at you, give to your employees because you're afraid of losing them. Whatever that is, you can't work out of fear, and you have to love what you want, what you do. And clearly, I mean, from a good place and a good heart, because I don't think you'll reap the rewards unless that's there too, right? it's coming from a place of service. And my service is always going to be philanthropy at the end of the day, right? Giving back. But I value the fact that I get to give all the knowledge that I have accumulated over the years of this roller coaster life that I've been on, and try to give women a workplace where they're safe, have financial freedom, and teach women in the beauty industry how you can have financial freedom doing what you love.
It's so rich, Ofelia. So a couple things that I want to just underline, and then we're going to get into the business of running a business. But for women that are looking for agency, autonomy, and authority over their life, put your own oxygen mask on first. This is not the first time you've heard it, but now you have context and a story around somebody that even knew that, but lost her way and wasn't doing it until she was. Listen to yourself and others and build a community around you, and, have a goal. Have a goal. So now tell us a little bit about owning a business as a woman. Now, this is for the people who say, you know what, I got to get out of working for someone else. I need to break out on my own. What are the secrets to being successful and being happy and owning a business at the same time?
I know, right? I mean, yeah, it's like I saw a meme the other day, which was really funny. It was like, I got to meditate, I got to work out, I got to drink water, I have to pray, I have to, it was like the list just goes and all in one day. And then it's like, oh, it's exhausting. Isn't that true? Like when you start to hear like, I now have to drink this kind of water and that kind of, it's just, the list can go on. Right. And honing in on what makes us happy, that's, I think, first and foremost, like the whole follow your passion thing too has gotten a little out of control for me anyway, because I think a lot of people forget the value of what it is to be working under someone else who has walked those steps before you. And there's a lot of value to wisdom, and all of those things, and learning off of people, it's like, attraction, what attracts you? Do you see someone in your workplace that you would really like to be like, or not jealousy? I don't want to come from a place of jealousy, but let's just say you want what they have.
Emulate them.
Yeah. Like you want what they have, whether it's in your church, in your community, in your mom's group, in the girls that, maybe you have a little girl that dances and you'd see another dance mom and there's something about her that is really attractive to you. Maybe it's a man. I don't know, like feel it, see it, study it, look, see what they're doing, who they are, like getting a little off topic, right? But if you can bring me back a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. So that you did say something important. So the question was, somebody who wants to go out on their own, what does it take to run a business? And you started with, hey, it isn't just all about going out and get into business. You got to learn from people. And I agree with you. I have one of my 3 sons. He just wants to jump right into being an entrepreneur. He doesn't want to pay his dues. He wants to be in farming, but doesn't want to work for a farmer. And before I started my own recruiting company, I worked for other people for 7 years. You worked for other people in the beauty industry and had to ask for a raise 3 times. Like, you have to pay your dues, or you're going to start your business and you're going to fail because you won't know, you won't have built up the wisdom and the resiliency and I guess that's it, the wisdom and the resiliency to make it, because it ain't always easy. It is the hardest thing. I was just reading the other day, Ofelia, the amount of women businesses that exceed $1 million, less than 3% of women-owned businesses break the barrier of $1 million. Less than 3%. And somebody might say, well, I don't need to do $1 million. I could do 200,000. But you got to pay your overhead. And you got to pay people. And you got to pay Uncle Sam, because he's coming whether you like him or not. And you got to have insurance. You got to have insurance in case somebody slips and falls. And so I love that you started with, you got to pay your dues, people. There is no free lunch. That's what my first male boss said to me. And even though he wasn't great, he did provide hundreds of women with an opportunity for financial freedom. And then out of those hundreds of women, at least 50% of them left and started their own business. So back to the
Wow.
question, tell us about what you need to run a business and make profit, and start with the internal things. And then what are the things we need to think about as running a business?
Yeah, some of the things that I would say is, like, I mean, in the beauty industry, it could be very black and white. Like, are you opening a hair salon? Are you doing this? And so obviously there's a lot of overhead, right? You want to think about all of the details and see if that's something you can support on your own, right? I would say that's number one. I would definitely say, like, you write out all the bills that you think you might have, and then maybe even multiply it by two. And you know what I mean? And then think to yourself, if I had nobody working for me, like if everybody walked out on me tomorrow, will I be okay? And that is the one thing, and if the answer is no, then maybe you need to go work for somebody else. Because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you'll be financially broke and I've seen that happen too, where people go all in and think that I'm going to do this, and then it doesn't work out. And then it's like, oh crap. I would say start slow. That's worked for me to build versus this perfection of this large, big brick and mortar. I like to start slow, little, and then build from there, which is why I have now 2 suites in the same building. And I love that you can manifest these things through visualization, writing down your vision statement. What does that look like? And do it in the present. I'm a huge fan of these types of things. Like, if I had to foresee what next year looks like, what does that look like? What does it feel like? And those things are important to me. So besides the potential revenue, your hypotheticals, because I'm doing that right now. I don't know what my projected sales really are. I know what I'd love them to be. And then you have to say, well, what is it going to take for me to get there? Marketing is huge. And if you are the face, I also see this that I wonder about, are you the face of your company? Because if you're going to start a business, people want to do business with people, not the concept, not the idea. They want to do business with the person, because so they see you, they can relate to you, they want to know you, they want to meet you. And I've noticed that in the business, we all see things that nobody else sees. So I might leave and come back, and then I can see, I want to say not that they suffer, but your presence is missed. The numbers maybe aren't as good as they should be. So being there and being present is where it needs to be. And clearly, I'm not going to lie, it's a lot of time. And some of the times there is no 9 to 5. So if you feel like you're a 9 to 5 kind of girl and you want your evenings because it's very important to you to go do X, Y, and Z, when you're starting a new business, it's babying it like a baby needs you.
What I've noticed, as soon as you say, I am kicking ass, I'm doing so good, I am going to just celebrate, boom, it's over. In the business I'm in, they say yesterday's transformation is today's ego trip. And so I don't think that you're ever done. Like, my kids are men now, 40, 33, and 30. And the other day I had a dream about my 30-year-old, but I had a dream about him that he was like 7 or 8. And we were playing, and it was visceral, man, that I was with him. And there was so much love and so much playfulness. And then I woke up at 7 a.m. And after my meditation, I look at my phone, and a text came in at 7 a.m. And it was that boy, that man. And he said, Mom, I really need you right now. Can you please call me? Now, that kid is always going to be my kid. And the business is always your business until the day you close the door. And it is, whether this is the popular thing to say or not, it is like another baby. It is like a child. It is an entity. There's an environment. There's breathing. There's an ecosystem. There's humans that you serve, and it never goes away.
Yeah, I agree.
You talked about visualization. And so I think there's a strong presence for you of, and maybe it was your mother, but we have to know where we're headed. And as you notice, I wear a compass and I have a compass behind me. That's the North Star. So you talked a lot about visualizing what you want. What else besides putting on your own oxygen mask? And I'd like to know how you put yours on. And then after how you put your own oxygen mask on, what other soft skills, internal, would you say it's necessary to cultivate to evolve yourself as a leader?
I'm going to be very honest. Breathing is huge. And it's a biohack, but it's an internal thing. We can do it. Breathing is what gives us oxygen. It feeds our lymph system, which is toxin removal just by breathing. It creates a calmness, where you can bring your fingers together, and maybe you see this in yoga, and I'm not trying to say that that's the answer, but there is something magnetic about just closing your eyes and taking a deep breath in through the nose and exhaling out the mouth. And it's something I do during my services too for my clients, is train them. I can feel the anxiety of people when they walk in, and then knowing that I just need to calm. When you calm and you get to that level, you can think better, right? Clearer. All of a sudden, your anxiety feels lifted. So there is a lot of putting your life mask on just by breathing. And that is the gift that we are given, right? To breathe. We are breathing every day. We wake up every day. It's a new day. And we get to also come from a place of gratitude. If you can start your gratitude in the morning, and sometimes, because for me it feels very repetitive, and sometimes not a lot of intention behind it because I'm so used to doing it, where it's like, okay, thank you for a beautiful day, here we go, and you walk downstairs and you're like, damn, I got to do the dishes. And then that can shift really fast. But
that's why I do my dishes at night.
That's a great idea. But it's like those little details, right? And love is in the details. I had to recently kind of get, I was frustrated in the workplace, but there was 2 moments that I had when I had a very clean, sparkling mortar of a space after construction's done, after the walls are painted, every desk is untouched, and I have to fill it with people now. And I sat in the chair and I took a moment to breathe. And fear came sneaking in like a little snake, right? And says, you're all alone. You're not going to have anybody working for you. And I immediately went, smash that idea. And I heard, I'm not kidding, I heard a voice. Now, whether you think it's God, your higher power, your intuition, call it whatever you want. For me, it's God. And it was, enjoy this moment of cleanliness, Ofelia. Look around, it's spotless and it's quiet. You could hear a pin drop. I was all by myself because it said, it's not going to last very long. Now, the other day, right, fast forward to 2 years later, uber upset. I have to clean out the shed. I have to paint the scuffs on the wall. And I'm pissed that everybody's not really cleaning up after themselves. And I'm irritated. And I'm like, I got to hire a company. How much is that going to cost? I mean, I'm totally upset. I'm legitimately upset. And I hear the little snake get smashed again and say, hey, it's dirty. Be grateful. It's busy in here. And I got to come from this annoying space and have gratitude, just like I did for the dishes. I have food to eat and I ate a steak last night. I'm okay. Like, let's come from the gratitude in the details.
That's a great way to complete. I am so glad we did this and that this happened today. This has been really fun. And you're an ideal guest for this podcast. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank
We're going to
you.
make sure that we've got people know how to reach you. And, I know you're really busy with your own business, but if women want to link into you and ask you questions about how to start their own beauty bar, are you open for questions?
I am so open. You can find me, Beauté Bar. It's a French concept since I lived in France, married to a Frenchie. So Beauté, Beaute, bar, LG for losgatos.com. So beautybarlg.com. And we have an Instagram there too. And then my personal brand is Ofelia _ Ofifi for my little French nickname. And that is my personal brand where I get all of my international aesthetic modalities and bringing them back here. But yes, I am a woman's advocate, whether it's for alcoholism, drug addiction, depression, violence, domestic violence in particular, and how to help and support. And I do have resources, and I would love to share mine with anybody who needs anything at any time. I am more than willing. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, you and I have not seen the last of each other. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. And everyone, it's about knowing what you want in life, even if all you want is joy and happiness, and then recalibrating and recovering so that you can take the next right action. Thank you so much. Response Agility. We'll see you next time.